Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Kyra and I am here today for the first of a new video series where I come and wrap up my month in tarot and tell you what it was like. So, it is the 1st of September as I am filming this. August is over, and as I promised when I talked about my intuitive tarot I was planning to do for August, that video is linked up above in the cards. I told you I was going to be starting these video series where I come back at the end of the month and I talk to you about my tarot practice for the month that has ended. And I tell you how any tarot goals I had went. Well, this is that time. Welcome to my new altar setup. If you like altar tours, I am going to be doing one and releasing one later this month. That is supposed to be coming out, well, I don't remember, but it's supposed to be coming out later this month. I'm going to be doing a new altar tour, where I show how my sacred space, witchy space, desk, and altar are set up. So, and you'll get to explore this more. So subscribe for that and hit the bell notification. That'll make that easier. But for today, let's get into the month in August. For August, my card of the month was the Queen of Cups. And it was a month I set out entirely to build and work on my intuitive reading, which I do feel like I did, not in the ways I expected. In that video, I mentioned some tarot decks I wanted to do, so I wanted to use, and how I wanted to use them, so let's start there. I talked about my Tarot of Vampires, which I did not use. I talked about, and like I said, I'll make sure to link the video. I talked about my, and this was my intuitive tarot decks video that's linked up above. I talked about using my spread crafters. I didn't use. Basically, the only things I used from that video were my soul cards 1 and 2 and my Shimmering Veil tarot. And I picked the decks I picked them because they were intuitive, or because they felt like they would be intuitive for me, and I just didn't end up using a lot of them. I think I was in my ambition and excitement and impulse, I was going too wide, and that just was not going to work for me. So what I ended up using the most was my Shimmering Veil tarot. Pretty much I just used this all month. I determined through trying to use, why can't I zoom in? There we go. Through trying to use the soul cards, I pretty much determined that the soul cards are not for me. So those are going to be I'm going to be finding a new home for those. But this I adore. This it just blew other things out of the waters. I like the art quality of this a bit better. And so after experiencing this, it was like, oh, okay, this does what I wanted the soul cards to do. So I did determine that I'm going to be moving along my soul cards 1 and 2. And I'm hoping to, maybe for Christmas or Yule, receive the one of her oracle decks. I'm wanting the Devas of Creation, so I'm hoping to receive those. So I did use the Shimmering Veil tarot, and this works so well that other things paled in comparison, and it's just, if I want to reach for something to work intuitively, it's going to now likely just be the Shimmering Veil. So this deck I did use. I used a lot, and That's pretty much the only part of my plans that I actually kept to. The rest all just kind of fell by the wayside for various reasons. And the first thing being with that is that my goal with this page was to each week work with one of those different decks. I had the Light Seers. I didn't work with that. I know that one works intuitively, but I just had no interest in working with it. Playing with the Spread Machine decks. That did not happen. Working with the Forest of Enchantment did not happen. Working with the Tarot of Vampires did not happen. Working with the Light Seers didn't happen. Working with my Starseeker Tarot didn't happen. But I did start to feel much more connected to my Starseeker Tarot again, which happens. It goes in waves and flows. And I'm madly in love with my Starseeker Tarot. So, but my goal was, because I had 4 of these decks that were tarot decks that weren't my Shimmering Veil, my goal was, and my Shimmering Veil was like my deck of the month. My goal was each week to use one of the intuitive one of the 4 decks to do my daily pulls. And the spread I had set out here was to, in the morning, I'd write my intuitive thoughts on the daily pulls, and then in the evening, I would reflect and say how it went. And the first thing I learned about myself with intuitive reading is that I need more than one card. That's what this point is here. Intuitive readings need more than one card for me. Doing an intuitive reading off one card without any context, without a question, doesn't... My kiddo is squeaking. Doesn't really work for me. Which is why this didn't end up working. I did end up expanding my daily tarot pull practice and working with the Shimmering Veil in that way. And we will circle back to that at some point. Another really cool thing that just happened in the month of August with tarot readings for me is I got to do tarot readings at my quiet retreat. And I will insert a picture here. Someone took a picture of me giving a reading, which I actually think is a really cool picture. I'll insert it. When we do our choir retreat, it's a group of some of the best people in the world. It's a wonderful community. And we get the opportunity to do what's called sharing our gifts. And in the sharing our gifts, we offer something to the group for those who want to take part that we feel we can do that is a gift that we want to share. So some people do chanting and lead chants. Some people lead, there was a thinking on your feet exercise group where we did like, we'd have a prompt and we had to just talk for a minute about the prompt. There's lots of things. And I offered tarot because, hi, it's me. And because I couldn't offer astrology in a format that works for that. Because it's normally like an hour and a half. Because I did tarot readings just all throughout the day. And I brought several decks. I brought the Shimmering Veil Tarot. I had the Boo Tarot. I had the Starseeker Tarot. And I had my This Might Hurt Tarot. And I also had my Soul Cards 1 and 2. So I'd set up and I'd have all these decks sitting out. And I would let the people pick. And a few people, each deck got used once. But multiple people picked the Shimmering Veil Tarot. By the way, it was really fun to read with the Boo Tarot for people. And it's adorable. So, multiple people picked the Shimmering Veil Tarot. And it was the first time I had done readings for anyone else with the Shimmering Veil Tarot. And it was the first time I'd done, like, big readings. One of them ended up quite large, where we had, like, several cards. And this deck... right there, I fell in love with it even more. I fell in love with this deck even more. I was already in love with it. And I just fell even harder. In one of those readings, someone went to their, like the next day, was talking to someone about their reading from me. And then told my wife was like, man, Kyra in those readings, she's really found her thing. And it was very positive feedback. It was such a wonderful experience and a very raw and vulnerable experience, because for me, reading, especially with a deck like this, it puts me into a different headspace. This deck really gets me into that Queen of Cups headspace that I wanted to be in, that I talked about at the beginning of the month. And that headspace for me is extremely raw and vulnerable. And I get extremely nervous doing it. And there's lots of reasons for it. Largely it's because as a kid, when I lived in that headspace and talked in that headspace and acted from that headspace, I would get in trouble, right? Like I would be told, Kyra, you're too soft. You're too emotional. I was left to fend for myself. I wasn't really supported in that headspace, or I just plain scared people because I would write things. Like I would write the things I would read in people's like funerals, like eulogy-ish poems. I would write them before they died. And so people didn't like that. And so I stopped doing it. And I started just leaning more into the chattery, nervous energy. So it felt like, man, look at that Two of Pentacles. It felt like really... It felt like the first time I very publicly just allowed myself the possibility to get that open and vulnerable with others. I'm super pleased to report that it's becoming a lot more natural, because that also happened I don't think it was in August. No, it would have been just the end of July. But we went to a friend's for a party, like a housewarming little random get together, and I started talking to someone about astrology, and it was just so easy for me. I remember feeling nervous and vulnerable, and I did it anyways. And then there was a time when, in this month, when for my son's birthday, my sister asked me what we were doing for my son's birthday, and without hesitation, well, I internally hesitated a tiny bit, but I still did it anyways. I sat there and I told her how I had planned to do a ritual. I feel like in the month of August, I passed through a door, and on the other side of that was my being more okay with that Queen of Cups side of myself. So that was another really cool thing in the month of August that happened with tarot. It was just amazing, and I really loved it. Now, before I tell you about how I am moving forward with my tarot practice this month and how I have expanded my daily practice, I want to talk actually like frequency of pulls. So you'll see on this page, there's a whole bunch of color. And I record my daily pulls as well here. So yesterday I did some finagling in a spreadsheet. And overall, the type of card I pulled the most in the month of August was majors, which is interesting because it wasn't like the cup card. The Queen of Cups is not a major card, perhaps because it was major for me, but the cards I pulled were majors cards. And I feel like, in thinking back on it, I feel like I learned a lot about myself. I would say I learned a lot about myself. It was definitely a major month. Through the course of August, I ended up pulling 106 cards. daily cards, week ahead spreads, other readings. There was a total of 106 cards that I pulled for myself for the month of August. 38 of those cards were majors. 19 of them were pentacles, and also 19 were swords. 16 wands I pulled, and 14 cups. So, hands down, it was a big major month. That was the most overwhelming thing. And the interesting thing is, I got a lot of repeats. So I guess I wasn't really listening and learning the lessons as quickly as the world might have, or as quickly as the universe might have liked. So let's see. What cards did I pull a lot of? I pulled the Empress twice, the Hierophant twice. I pulled the Chariot 4 times. The Wheel 3, Strength 3, Justice twice, the Hanged Man 4 times, the Sun card 4 times, the World card 4 times. I pulled a lot of repeats. A ton. And of course, now I'm not finding them. So I pulled this guy multiple times. I pulled this one, the World card, multiple times. Multiple times. There was no... I don't think there was any one card in particular. Here's the Hanged Man, which I pulled multiple times. Which this is my card of the year. I don't think there's any one card that stood out as like, this was my main card that stalked me this month. It was a lot of just repeating lessons until I fucking got the message. And that was not always easy for my tarot decks, I guess. I also pulled the Nine of Pentacles a lot. The King of Wands a lot. I pulled the King of Wands 4 times, which seems significant because there was only 10 Wands pulls. There's just a lot of repeats. Just a lot of repeats. And then there was my week ahead spreads. And oh boy, were those interesting. There were 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks were really interesting pulls. Let me get to those spreads. Here's the first week of August. And for the week of August, for the energy, I pulled the Empress card. For the obstacle, I pulled the Chariot. And for the advice, I pulled the World. This was a really interesting pull. I saw this and I was like, whoa, that is intense, let me tell you. 3 majors for 1 singular week. And, well, it was a hard week, I think. We did our choir retreat that week, I believe. Yeah, we had our choir retreat. It was a big deal. And what's interesting is that choir retreat, as I told you, at the end of that week, it was when I did the tarot readings and I felt like I had stepped through that door. So that was a really interesting week. Getting 3 majors for a week ahead spread is always really interesting. And then the next week was another interesting one where I pulled the 4 of Wands for the energy, the King of Wands for the advice or the obstacle. I always do that. And I got the 6 of Wands and the 10 of Swords for the advice. Energy, obstacle, advice. All fire and 1 sword. This was again this was a good, strong message of like burning myself out, I guess, kind of. But this was a really strong week. And this guy here, I pulled for 3 out of the 4 week ahead readings. I believe it was. Or sorry, out of 5. I pulled him for 3 out of 5. I pulled him. So I pulled him twice as an obstacle. And then the last week I pulled him, he became the energy. So I think I need to do some shadow work around the King of Wands. Another cool thing that happened in the month of August, and this happened during the choir retreat, is I added a new layer to when I do my readings. And what I do is I always shuffle and get flyers. And sometimes the flyers land face up and sometimes they land face down. And what I used to do is I used to look at them and if it landed face down, I would just turn it face up. Unless all of them landed face down, then I would wait and do the dramatic flip the cards over. But I would take it as like, nope, others have landed face up, and I would flip the cards up. Or I would, hey, look, here's our Queen of Cups. Or I would, that ended up being what happened most of the time. But something clicked. When I was doing the readings for other people at Choir Retreat and I saw the way things landed, it occurred to me, maybe sometimes there's a layer in how things land. If these two are specific positions and they're the only ones that land face down, maybe that's because it's information that the person we're doing the reading for doesn't know, right? Like if I just looked at 3, if this was energy obstacle advice, I might say to the client, it looks like you're not understanding what the advice is. Because this is how I give my readings. I give my readings in like sections that I like kind of mentally tick off in my head. And this is one of the first sections now, which if you're curious in me doing a video of like how I give tarot readings, like the sections I do, then let me know in the comments down below. I can do that for you. So one of the first sections I would do is now I've have this extra layer of looking at it and saying, okay, well, maybe the advice is hidden and not the obstacle. So we get to reveal the advice for the client. Maybe the energy is hidden. The person can tell what a problem is and they can tell how to fix the problem, but they're not understanding what way it's affecting their energy. So I was able to add in this really cool new layer of nuance to my readings, which I really like. I did do readings for my new moon and full moon. I did remember to do a moon return reading this month. 2, actually. I did my full moon reading, and I believe I did a new moon reading as well. So I did actually get all my readings. And then I also did this reading for my Mars return. So I've entered my Mars return. And so I decide, and it's a big significant one that involves a retrograde. Mars only retrogrades once every 2 years. So it's significant when your Mars return has a Mars retrograde in it. So instead of Mars spending 2 months in Gemini like it might otherwise, it's spending 7. So I did a big reading for my Mars return. And this was really cool. I pulled lots of majors. Lots of majors. So I pulled the Knight of Pentacles and I pulled this with my Starseeker Tarot. I pulled the Knight of Pentacles for the first phase. I pulled the King of Wands again. I pulled Temperance. I pulled the 3 of Pentacles and the 4 of Swords. I pulled the World card, the Sun card, the Star card, the Womb card. That was another weird thing this month. For some reason, I kept pulling the extras. Every single deck I worked with, I pulled the extra. So this deck has an extra Fool in it. And I pulled this card. The Starseeker Tarot has an extra card in it called the Womb. I also pulled that card. And just yesterday, or for my last moon return, I was using the Gentle Tarot, which has an extra card in it called the Unseen, and I pulled that card. So there was this weird thing where I kept pulling the extras cards from decks. So that's interesting in that, like, part of my messages come outside the normal structure kind of way. It's very weird. Anyways, so I did this whole big Mars return reading, which of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of 12 cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them are majors. So it's a big deal, just like I thought. And for me, my Mars return started August 20th and goes till March 25th. And I'm excited to be working with this more in my new journal. Spoilers, I'm going to need a new journal. So the last thing is just kind of how I'm expanding my practice and moving into this new month. And I started this here. So I started, let's see, when I filmed my September setup video, which is linked up above in the cards, I was doing these. I talked about how I was trying to expand my daily practice. And so I had a witchy weekly setup where I could do my moon stuff and my week ahead spread reading and my expanded tarot practice, because I like to record that. And then I had my regular weekly. And then I very promptly decided I didn't like it. And what I did, what I really wasn't liking was, there's this thing that happens where over time, if I don't write things every day, I start to forget them. So even though I have this weekly, which I love the look of, I would forget, like, I didn't know the information in my head as well, right? Something about writing down my things the night before helps me remember better what my next day is going to look like. But the way my weekly was, I wasn't doing that. And I really like having it all the information for a day together. Having two was like, meh. So then I very promptly started doing this. I split the page in half. Basically, I split the page in fours. Each day gets one half of the page. And then there's my list. And then there's my magic shit. And I like this so far. The only thing I changed from this first one was I felt the moons were a bit too big and overwhelming, so I made them a bit smaller. So I have on this side, I write out my work tasks, and then I do a line, and then I write out other tasks, which some are work, some are home related. But the idea being, like, I'm definitely supposed to do as many of the stuff up here as I can. And then on this side, I have a square at the top for my moon practice, because for my Mars return, I have 3 goals. One is to, let me look at it, get the exact wording again. My spiritual focuses are my journaling, my moon work, and my ancestor work. So, and the moon work and the journaling work go together. And anchoring my ancestor work in here in my journal too helps. This is part of what got me this big, beautiful altar setup, which I really, really love. So the little square on top was meant to be like, write down, a place to write down, a moon work thing, because I want to work with the moon more. I'm still working on and developing that. So I don't know if I'm going to do that. But then this part under is for my daily practice, which I now do. So what I started doing, let me flip to here. And then I have this one, this part here was the week ahead. So the week ahead, I wrote the week. I did a pull here with the new moon. This is something I'm going to be doing in my journaling practice. I have a video, shoot, is it coming out? I have a video that's coming out soon where I talk about the 3 unique ways I use tarot, where I talk about this. And so what I'm doing with this is I'm pulling a card with the new moon as a message from my ancestors. And then at the next new moon, part of my reflection will be to affix that card into my journal and journal about it. So I have on this side about that river card. And then on this side, I have my energy ahead, or my week ahead reading, where I do the energy obstacle advice. And then here's my daily. So what I've been doing is I used to try and use different card decks for my daily draws, but I've decided to change that. My ancestor work, it's very important for me to do it every day. That is what I am being called to do by them. So I decided, I had the idea. I don't even know how I had the idea, but it was brilliant. And I was like, yes. So every day I do my daily card from the Cosmovisions Oracle Tarot. And I do that in the morning. And this part in the morning, it's like, here's my message from them for the day. All I do in the morning is I sit down, I pull this card, I write down what it is, I record it in my tracker, and I record it on my daily by just writing here, like here I pulled the 6 of Swords. And I write, so like this one is 6 of Trees. I know it's a pentacle card, so it's 6 of Pentacles. But if it's a major, I write the name of the major that it mirrors from the Rider-Waite-Smith. So all I do in the morning is I pull the card, I lay it down, I record it in my, well, I actually put it up there, but I pull the card, I lay it down, I record it in my yearly tracker, and then I record it onto my daily. I find the charm version of it. So here's today's card. It's the 6 of Trees. The equivalent of that is the 6 of Pentacles. So I find the 6 of Pentacles, focus, in the Charmcast Tarot. I put it in my pendant and I put it on. That's all I do in the morning. So then in the evening, I come here, I sit down, I pull my card out, I read in the guidebook, and then from the guidebook, I get kind of a feeling of what the message is. So then I ask myself a question, or I ask the ancestors a question. So here, the 6 of Swords, out of control, leaving behind. 6 fighter planes swoop through the valley, quickly advancing towards their target. But for one plane, this is the last fight. It's leaking fuel and spiraling downwards when suddenly a sharp wind shifts and launches the plane directly into the purple valley. Perhaps the pilot will be lucky enough for a water landing, but that is now up to fate. The wind plays no helping hand in this card. Rather, it is the reaper for the pilot. This can be a heavy card to have in your spread. It doesn't speak kindly to favor, and instead suggests that sometimes your own fate is simply out of your control. When you find yourself in an uncontrollable situation, try to move through the transition with as much composure as you can. Trust that the universe will work things out. So the control theme really resonated from that. So then I said, where can I release control? And then what I do is I then go to my monthly deck, which was the Shimmering Veil, and I pull cards. So tonight, if this is my daily card, I'll read the guidebook, I'll see what the message is, and then I'll pull 1 or 2 cards from the Shimmering Veil. And then that's what I write here. And I really love it. It's a super simple practice. It's very enriching. It means I'm starting my day with ancestor work and ending my day with ancestor work, which feels really right and good for me. And it doesn't take long. it's not a very long, arduous practice. Like it's very easy to do. And it was very easy because it was so small and bite size. And because I was building it off of an existing practice I have, it was very easy to integrate. So I have this one here. I have 2 more days here. Now, not every evening do I feel inclined. Like last night. Sorry, where is it? Last night, I didn't need to pull extra cards. My message was simply my message. And so that was it. Oh, and just another little cool thing that happened when I did my moon return reading yesterday. What was cool was that I got the 9 of stones, which is the 9 of pentacles. And that was my daily card that day. And I also got the Flower of Cups or the Queen of Cups, which was my monthly card. So at the very end of the month, I got my daily card in a reading and got the monthly card in a reading, which I just thought was cool. So, oh shoot, I accidentally put away my card. See, this is what happens when you play. Silly me. So next month, my theme, or this, so for this month, my theme is all about creating my own life. And I'm not sure which deck yet I want to use. I have 2 choices. One is the Force of Enchantment Tarot. Because as I talked about, I talked about this in a video that I filmed that hasn't come out yet, so stay tuned. This deck feels like my perfect fairy world aesthetic. So when it comes to creating my own life, I want it to kind of look and feel like this. So this is a possibility that I am curious about working with. I actually have 3 possibilities. So that's the Forest of Enchantment Tarot. The other one I'm considering is the Gentle Tarot. It does go really well with my color scheme. Sorry, let me get a focus there. There we go. And this is one of the decks that very much gives me the perfect naturey, witchy, magical, but mundane kind of vibes. So there's this one. And the thing that is making me kind of lean at this moment more towards this one is the fact that my Kickstarter, my Gentle Tarot Kickstarter from the Pocket Edition with the full guidebook is on its way to me right now. Hopefully it will be arriving very soon. So this is a really good option for creating my life kind of feeling to go with the theme for the month. Very excited about that either way. Very excited for that Kickstarter. It's been a well worth it wait. Or I know it's going to be. I'm so excited for that big, beautiful guidebook. The third one, which occurs to me now, is I think I might want to try the Witch's Wisdom. Now, I don't tend to pick up this deck a lot because I know how I like to use it. And I think that's sort of a hindrance sometimes. Because just because I like to use it for my year ahead spreads doesn't mean I never want to use it otherwise. So I am tempted to use this as part of my daily practice. I might use multiple of these decks. I don't know. Because this is only my second time doing this. I'm building it as I go, just like I do everything. But I'm tempted to use this in the evening as my part of my daily tarot practice. They both have maze cards. I love this card so much. Not sure. So those are the options. What would you use? Let me know in the comments down below. What would you use? Of these three, what would you use for the theme of creating your own life? And if you truly wouldn't use any of these three, what would you use instead? For me, it has to have that beautiful, naturey kind of vibe. And I really love how the bag of this adds to that. So let me know in the comments down below. But that's it. That's how my tarot practice went for the month of August. And lots of growth, lots of learning, lots of big lessons. And that is what I know so far going into September. The theme I'm working with and the deck choices that I want to consider. So this is where I am going to end this video. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up to let me know if you liked it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification so you can come on back. I've got lots of exciting videos coming out this month. And I also started this month doing a coming up in September post in my community tab. So if you subscribe and go check that out, you'll get some more details about what type of stuff is coming out. What type of stuff is coming out this month. So that is that. And in the comments, we already talked about answering what you would use for creating your own life. And the description box has my website where you can check out the services I offer. I do tarot readings and astrology. I mix the two together. It's a whole thing. You can go and check it out. There's also my email if you would like to contact me to ask me any questions about my services, request a video. You can do that in the comments, whatnot. If you need to contact me, that's how you can do that. And if you would like to check out my channel membership, where I offer monthly live streams and monthly videos and some other fun little things peppered throughout time, then you can click the join button beside the subscribe button, or there is also a link in the description box as well. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to let you go here. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Lots of love. Bye.